Good day everyone, it is Caitlin and today we are making an 1870s wool dress. Alright, well, welcome. So we are making an 1870s dress. It is Monday. I need to wear this Saturday. Trim has not come in yet. Hopefully it'll be here tomorrow. But yeah, we're going to make a dress. So I'm going to be using the Domestic Ladies Dressmaker's Marna Davis's pattern, her Martha pattern. She just came out with it a couple months ago. I have no idea when this video is coming out. It came out in September or October. I think it was September. September 22. Less than a year ago. Let's put it that way. It's a really cool pattern because Marna has lots of originals. She bases all of her patterns off her originals. And this one has a lot of different originals into it. So you can have like 3, 4, or 5 different dresses depending on how you make it up. So she has several dresses that were so similar, she just puts them all in the same pattern. So we're going to be making a dressier version. I'm making this out of wool. I had to talk to Marna about the wool actually because in silk we call it a shot silk. So one color on the loom and you're weaving with another color. And that's basically what this is. And I know that's not appropriate for mid-19th century wools, but I talked to Marna and she said yes, by the 1870s they were doing interesting things with wools, and she pulled up one of her originals. She sent me pictures, said here's one that's very similar. Now that one had a cotton warp and a wool weft, but still different colors. And so I was like, okay, this is perfect. It was actually basically very similar, but it was brown. So mine is a light gray on the loom, so warp, and a dark gray on the weft weaving. Hers was a light gray or light brown tan on the warp and a darker brown on the weft. So basically it's the same thing but brown and half of it was cotton. So I felt pretty comfortable using this fabric. I only have 7 yards of it. I have no idea why I only have 7 yards. I always buy at least 8, and I could have sworn I bought 11 of this. And I have not used it for anything else. So goodness knows what I did with it. Oh wait, I did have more. I used part of it to make a braided rug. I remember this now. Anyway, we're going to make a slightly dressier version because the event I'm wearing it to, I am an officer's wife in 1874, I think. This is an 1868 to 1862 pattern, but I'm a lower officer's wife, so I'm thinking best dressed in 72, still mostly acceptable by 74. I think the only thing I might change, I might add a little standing collar to this dress. Which would make it a little bit more appropriate. Anyway, with all that being said, I'm going to put a ruffle at the bottom of the skirt, and instead of making the skirt and then attaching a ruffle over, I'm going to just I'm going to cut this here where this line is, and then just sew the ruffle over top. So one of Marna's originals does that, and I'm low on fabric. Because ideally I want an overskirt out of this too. I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm going to try. Okay, we're going to try. Let's go ahead and start with this. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out the largest size just because you can always have a wider skirt. And also this should be on the fold and not putting on the fold because I am trying to save fabric and I have no other piece that's going to fit here. So I went ahead and decided to cut it with a seam allowance. This is a very strangely shaped pocket. That would be right next to me, just being very clingy today. I'm not sure what's going on with her. What I probably should do is I have one more skirt piece. I can probably cut the bodice on the other side of that. I still have to cut the ruffles and such. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Here's that piece. Alright, I'm going to cut out the ruffles next. So I need 3 20-inch ruffles. This is is already a ripped edge. Get to have an overskirt, there's gonna be ruffles on that. Like, as soon as I'm gonna have enough for an overskirt, not enough to ruffle the overskirt, and that's gonna really irritate me. And I've had this fabric for like 6 years, so there's no chance of getting any extra. So now I have other pieces. I have one more skirt piece to do. I have bodice pieces and sleeve pieces. Except I'm not cutting the bodice yet because I haven't cut the lining and I haven't fitted the bodice. So glad I remember that. That would have been good. And then once I fit it, we'll come back and cut the rest of this. And I might have enough. If I can get most of the bodice and the sleeves here, I should have enough. Alright, so here is the bodice that is fitted. I only had to make one tack into it. Everything else is able, well, I also take in a little bit of the sides here. Everything else is pretty much worked out. I did, of course, put in different darts, but darts are so individualized anyway, that's kind of normal. And I think I might be able to do the overskirt. I think. I need to cut one more sleeve, and we'll see if we can fit the overskirts on there and have enough for ruffles. Then we'll cut the ruffles on the straight of grain. That makes way more sense. The pattern has them on the bias because I think the original had them on the bias. However, the skirt, the original with the giant skirt ruffle is different than the one with the overskirt. Now, that doesn't mean they can't go together. I've seen fashion plates and originals that do go together. It's just of Marna's, that's how it worked. And the one with the skirt ruffle was not on the bias, but the one with the overskirt was on the bias, and she had like lots of little ruffles on the bottom that were on the bias. And it does not make sense to me to have half of my ruffles on the bias and the other half not. So I think since I already cut the skirt one straight of grain, I should cut everything straight of grain, and I'll just use my narrow hemmer on the machine, which is a period foot, and go ahead and narrow hem them that way and just use them as is. I think that makes more sense. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, so I sewed the bodice together, went ahead and put darks in it, and so I think we're going to put piping on the bottom. Will be the next step. I always forget how piping goes. It goes that way, yes, okay. So I'll stitch this on, and it goes basically the same way as mid-century dresses go. So sew this on by machine right against that little edge, flip it over, and then we'll turn this raw edge under and kind of sew that down by hand. And then we're also going to need to attach piping to the arm side. That's going to get tacked in by hand so I can sew in the sleeves, but I have not sewn the sleeves yet. I still need to actually cut off the lining for the sleeves. That's sleeve piping. Alright, yeah, let's go ahead and cut this down a little bit, because usually with sleeve piping I like to cut it down a bit. Again, I have to do this by hand with a very basic running stitch that's pretty big. I was actually kind of hoping to leave off the piping at the arm size because it's on its way out in the 70s. So at least one of the dresses that Marna has in this pattern does not have piping, but it's like the solid work dress. This is a nicer dress. And I'm like, okay, I think I should still have piping for this. So we're still working on piping. By the 80s, piping is mostly out, if not completely out. It's not a time period I study. I just know that from the dresses I've seen, they have not been piped. So just like that. I have not figured out what I'm going to do with the neckline yet. I have not cut a collar pattern. If I'm going to do a collar pattern, I have no clue. So I'm going to wait on that. I think we get the piping done. Closures. I think the ribbon I have coming is 1/2 inch, so that's not going to be wide enough to actually cover buttons. However, I can do a couple of things. I can trim it, like put it, strip the edge and then have the buttons and then another strip of the velvet. I'm, depending on what shade of green the ribbon comes in as, I might have a green silk that would match or be close enough, and I could cover them in silk and have the velvet trim on the dress, which I think is going to be the ideal situation. Otherwise, I might have some buttons that may work somewhere, stashed away somewhere. I have to look. Other than that, I don't know I have any other options. I don't have time to go get new buttons, so that's not an option. But I think ideally they'd be green silk. I'm just covered. I think I have some wood ones I can cover, something like that. But we shall see. And then we'll have to do buttonholes as well. Unless I can maybe ask and find out whether it's still common to do fake buttons or non-functioning buttons with just hook and eye closures, which would be the ideal situation. Because I like sewing on hooks and eyes a lot more than I like sewing on buttonholes. But it seems like by this time period, functioning buttons are far more common. So I guess we'll do that. Anyway, I'm going to keep working on piping. I'll come back with the pipe dress. We need to work on sleeves at some point. I also sewed the skirt together. I sewed the bodice and the skirt together without remembering that I was filming. So that's why those were done. But I still need to hem the ruffle and then put the gather the ruffle and put the gathered ruffle to the skirt. So none of that is done yet. I did put it in the pocket though. So like the main skirt bit is done. But yeah, I'm going to just, I think, finish the piping tonight. Go ahead and get it prepped for handwork, and that way when I sit down, whenever I have the time, I'll just do handwork. Alright, prepping the sleeves. So I have my sleeves here. Actually, give me 5 minutes because I'm going to go iron these, and then I'll be right back. Alright, now I have the sleeve turned right side out. I have a bias band, and I'm just going to pin this to the raw edge, and that's going to get stitched around, and then I would turn it inside out, flip it over, turn in the raw edges, even though they're biased and won't ravel. I'm still going to do that, and I'll just tack the underside in, and that'll give me a finished edge to my sleeve. I have not trimmed the sleeve yet. I think we're going to do all the trimming at once. I mean, I really can't do the ribbon part anyway. I could cut the ruffle, but I'm going to wait to cut the ruffle because, well, I just don't have to wait to cut the ruffle, but I'm going to wait for the ruffle, and we'll do all the ruffly bits at once. But there's the sleeve and what it's looking like. So get that done, attach it into the arm side, and then I do have some handwork I can do. I can go ahead and do the bottom edge of that piping on the waistband or waistline, and I can go ahead and tack these parts in. And I guess ideally go ahead and bind the neckline. I think I'm going to bind it instead of pipe it. I'm going to bind it, and then I think I need to cut the collar before I do that. So let's wait on, I think I need to cut the collar before I do that. So let's wait on that. I'll just do the parts I already mentioned, and then I think I'm going to be done for the night, and we'll look at it tomorrow. Okay, so this is the skirt ruffle. I gathered the top of it. I have not put it to the skirt yet, but I am hemming it. So the directions say to turn under 1/2 inch, then turn under another 2 inches, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm just doing that with a narrow machine stitch all the way across. It does not say to face it. I'm wondering if I really should have faced it, considering it's not just a ruffle, it's the edge of the skirt. But at this point, I think I'm just going to do it this way. I get done with this, I'm going to attach this to the bottom of the skirt. My ribbon did come in. It's a little narrower than I expected it to be. For some reason, I thought I bought 1/2 inch. Apparently, I bought 3/8 inch. But I have no time to reorder any ribbon. I went to my local Hobby Lobby. They didn't have a nice velvet ribbon. They had a very, very dark green, which was almost black, and I didn't like it against this. If it was a lighter gray, then yes, but considering this is a dark gray, I didn't like it. So that was out. So we're going to use the ribbon I have. It's just going to be a little narrower than I think I would like. I may end up replacing it eventually with like a 5/8, at least on the skirt. I think I may keep it narrow on the overskirt and sleeves, but at the same time, I've seen narrow ribbons on originals, so I'm not really concerned about it. Alright, I am working on putting the ribbon onto the skirt. So the ruffle ended up being a lot less gathered than I would have preferred. I think I would have liked at least one more panel, if not two. And I probably could have pieced it, but I didn't feel like piecing it after I already had gathered it and figured out that it wasn't going to be quite as full as I wanted. So I'm leaving it. It's going to be fine. I'm doing like mid-70s, so it's getting close to the natural form period anyway, so I'm not, super concerned about it, but I'm just doing a machine stitch on the bottom of the ribbon and on the top of the ribbon. So I'm on the top version now, or section. It's going pretty well. I also, when I ironed the ruffle, I ironed the seam allowance up, so I'm like catching it in the ribbon. And that's hopefully going to help it keep it from gathering, because this fabric does like to gather ravel a good bit. So this is going to keep it from raveling, is having it in the seam. Alright, so I've attached the sleeve ruffle by basically cutting 18 inches of these, I guess what's going to be the ruffle for the underskirt, cutting it in half so it's now 2.5 inches wide instead of 5 inches. And narrow hemming that, gathering it, putting to the edge of the sleeve, and then putting the ribbon over it. That now means I have, this dot is basically done. So I ended up also cutting a little bit of bias, and I bound the neckline. Sorry, I'm talking about the neckline, but I'm finishing this because I realized I forgot to cut this off. Down the neckline, I have not sewn it on yet, but I stitched one side and then I just haven't, whipped it on this side. It's basically like piping, except without the piping. It's just a little bias binding, and that will finish that edge. And I'm going to do a little ruffled standing collar, is what I'm seeing in a lot of fashion plates. So we're going to do that instead of a standing stuff fabric color, which is also appropriate. So I'm basically almost done with the bodice, and we're going to work on the underskirt now. Overskirt sewn together. I am working on the ruffle, so I thought I'd show you how I do the narrow hem. It's going to be really hard because of the light on the machine, and I don't know how to block that. I don't think I can. Anyway, so this particular foot that I have on it is, let me get the second one. I think the second one is in, yes. It looks like this. It's a narrow hemming foot. This is the wider one than this one. So essentially there's like this little circular thing that is here and it goes around. So you stick the fabric in there and it folds it over twice and then it stitches it down. So it hems it for you. Basically, there's no ironing, there's no cursing, because hemming is not fun and getting it all even. This just does it for you. So you just kind of fold it over. However, this is the wider one, so I'm doing about 3/8 of an inch. And it comes out this perfect little rolled hem. Very narrow hem. It's so easy. I love this thing so much. By the way, if you have a sewing machine of really any kind, even some of the antique ones, and you have not delved into all the types of feet that you can use and what they do, go do some research, because a lot of the things that you will spend a lot of time fiddling with, there's a foot for that. So like, we all know like the zipper foot, which in my opinion is called the piping foot. I'm actually pretty sure it was originally what it was called. Anyway, I use it for piping, not for zippers. I don't do zippers. There's, most of us know, the buttonhole foot, but I mean, this is only half the ones I have, and you can do, there's like ruffling feet. I'm pretty sure this is a walking foot that you can use for knit fabric, so they don't bunch up on you. There, again, ruffling ones. There are, I'm not even sure what half of these do, quite frankly. I'm pretty sure I have like a list of what they all do. But, yeah, it's amazing what you can do with a sewing machine foot. Yeah, definitely go look into that. So I know, like, my 1907 Singer has lots of different feet with it. I'm pretty sure there's a ruffler on there. I'm not sure what else I have, because I never actually bothered changing out the foot on that one. But a lot of modern machines, and even some of the antique ones, will have other feet, and it's amazing how much time you can save and how much frustration you can avoid by just using the right sewing machine foot. And that's a whole other tangent. I'm really not a machine expert, but there are people who are, and if you have a machine and you have a quilt shop near you or a sewing machine repair shop, go in and chat with someone about the different types of feet that you can use, and they might be able to have some that you can buy, and you can try some of this stuff out, because really it saves a lot of frustration. Also, if you're familiar with different types of feet that your sewing machine uses, drop a comment in the chat about your favorite foot and what it does, just because there are sometimes I wouldn't even think about something like using the zipper foot for piping. Like, you may have like a particular foot that you use for something historic that makes something really easy that I didn't think of. So please drop that in the comments if you use your sewing machine feet. Alright, so this is the overskirt with the ruffles sewn on, and I'm sewing in the velvet once again. So I did have enough velvet, and I have, okay, maybe about 3/4 of a yard left over. This is enough to put on the neckline if I wanted to, and then I don't know what I'll do with a little bit of extra. Probably save it in case I need to replace something. But I think after this I just have handwork, so the next steps are handwork. So I need to do the buttonholes, and I need to gauge pleat the skirt, and I need to pleat this thing, and then I can sew both the waistbands on, and then hand whip them. And then I'll just have to wait till I get to Rhett's house so that I can cover the buttons, because I have a very nice green silk that is very close to this color. It may be slightly darker, but it's gonna go fine. And we'll just have little green silk buttons. I just need to do that. So it's Wednesday now, then it's Friday, or then it's Saturday. So I'll need to do that Friday night when I get home. So it'll be a late night Friday night. Alright, I'm on the couch working on the dress. So I got a fake waistband put on, or partial waistband put on this side. And on the other side, I got the hooks and eyes in. And I was working on buttonholes. So we all know how much I hate buttonholes at this point. Unless you're new here, then I hate buttonholes. I hate them in general, though. I don't actually like the modern ones either, so I just really don't like doing them. And I'm using silk buttonhole twist. There's going to end up being 10 buttons. I put them about 1.5 inches apart, which according to Marna's stuff is about what the original had it, had the buttons apart. I started about 1 inch from the edge, just so there's room for a brooch at the top. Silk buttonhole twist is it. Once it gets a few little twists in it, it really makes it difficult to work with. I sewed on I sewed on this half of the pleating. I've not sewn on the other half of the pleating. I'll do that next, and then I will just pull the gauging threads, and of course that will be done. But it is Thursday, and I'm leaving right after work tomorrow, so I need to pack up tonight. And then tomorrow, when I get home, I will, and by home I mean my fiance's house, I will go ahead and do the buttons. And I likely won't have my camera with me, so That's why we're filming more of the buttonholes, whereas we usually skip the buttonhole part and do the buttons, because I like to pretend that buttonholes don't exist. Buttonholes are interesting because I really don't have a reason to hate them, I just hate them. But I don't hate the buttonhole stitch because I do white work embroidery. That's a buttonhole stitch usually. I do eyelets. Those are buttonhole stitches, and I don't mind doing those. It's just actual buttonholes I don't care for. Or, you know, hate with a loathing passion. Well, at least that's buttonholes done, because now I can stop avoiding them. I have been avoiding them. I've been in a very wonderful conversation with a group of friends on diaper bags of the 19th century. Just, you know, riveting information. A conversation I started, by the way. Mostly to avoid doing the buttonholes. Shouldn't have made that waistband so large. Oh well. It's be hard to see things. Alright, now we're going to actually start stitching on a waistband like I normally do. Or stitching on the skirt like I normally do. I'm basically going to continue this until I reach the gauging, and then I'll, you know, pull the gauging threads. We whip each and every one of those pleats to the waistband, or piped edge, the bodice edge. And then we'll have a completed dress minus buttons, which I will put on tomorrow afternoon. Here we are, so let's go ahead and get it on. I worked Fort McCabot's Christmas program, and it worked very well. I do my 1880s bustle on today, so I don't know if the skirts go all the way down in the back. It may be hiked up a little bit, but that's just because I'm wearing the wrong bustle. Also wearing the wrong shoes, so it's a little long in front. Dress got finished night of, or night before the event. So I was still sewing buttons because I had left the green silk. Well, okay, I have a big old bag of scrap silk wool and velvet. And I had left it at my fiance's house, which, because I didn't think I would need it. And my green silk that I was going to use for the buttons was in that bag. So I had to wait until I got there to actually make the buttons. There we go. So yeah, there it is. Oh, it's all cut up in the back. And there it is, and it is my 1880s bustle, so it's a little bigger than my 1870s one. And a lovely overskirt. This one hooks in front. That makes it really easy. I really like bustles that hook in the front and not on the side. I did make this waistband a little big, so I ended up wearing a belt over it. Okay. But yeah, and that's that, and it's just beautiful. And the green is just the right touch. I mean, I didn't have enough to do anything on the bodice. I almost would like to do like a little square of the velvet. So I might buy some more. Haven't quite decided, but there's the touch here on the sleeves, on the skirt down here, and then on the bustle. So it's just a very light touch of green. And I love that I chose green. So I considered red at first. I was going to do red or burgundy wine. And I really thought about it, and I was like, okay, so my bonnet has red on it, so do I really want to match the bonnet to the dress? And then also the cloak I wanted to wear, or the shawl I wanted to wear, was bright red with white fur on it. So I was like, okay, do I really want to do that? The answer is no, I really did not. So I ended up going with the green. I asked lots of people's opinions, and some people said go with the red, until I told them about the bonnet. They were like, yeah, then you need to do green. So we went green, and I'm very happy that we did. It turned out really well. I'm very happy with it. I think it turned out extremely well.
And I actually do love this pattern. This is a fantastic pattern. If you're into 1870s stuff, I really do highly recommend Marna Davis's patterns. I have used her Lily on several dresses. Most of my other 1870s stuff is Lily. And this one is late 60s to very early 70s. And this is her Martha, if I didn't say that before. So this is an excellent pattern. I did add these, this is actually the Lily, is the ruffle on the sleeve is a Lily thing, but I went with it anyway because there were ruffles all over this thing. So I felt weird that there were ruffles all over the skirt and overskirt and none on the bodice. So we had to add them on the sleeves. With all that being said, I mean, got a new 1870s dress. This is my nicest 1870s dress now. So thank you so much for joining me today as we made our 1870s wool dress. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Click that little bell notification so that you are notified anytime I upload a video. And as always, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here on Monday.